Imagine for a moment that you are, and I'm not using hyperbole here, the most brilliant mind of your generation.
Right.
You aren't just a scholar. You're a celebrated politician. You're a decorated cavalry soldier. And you're a poet who is, already changing the game.
You're a big deal.
You're a big deal. You have a wife, you have children, a home in what is basically the cultural center of the universe at that time.
Yeah.
You are woven into the very fabric of your city.
And then the floor just drops out from under you.
Completely. It is March 10th, 1302.
Mm-hmm.
The city of Florence issues a decree against you. And this isn't just an eviction notice. The language they use is specific, and it is horrifying. If you were ever caught setting foot in Florentine territory again, you will be burned alive.
And just to, make sure the point got across, they later updated that sentence to beheading.
Oh, great.
They really wanted to cover all their bases.
It's the kind of trauma that should have just ended his story. By all rights, Dante Alighieri should have died of forgotten, bitter exile, starving in some castle in Verona. But that fire didn't kill him. In this really strange, twisted paradox, the death sentence actually created him.
It did.
It stripped him of his identity, his home, his status, all his assets, and it forced him onto this path that would lead directly to the Divine Comedy.
It's the ultimate example of destruction fueling creation. I mean, think about it. If Dante stays in Florence, if he remains this comfortable bureaucrat, a mid-tier politician...
We don't get the Inferno.
We almost certainly do not get the Inferno. We don't get Purgatorio or Paradiso. We might not even get the modern Italian language as we know it today.
Right.
We would just have Dante, the local magistrate who, wrote some nice sonnets on the weekends.
So that is our mission for this deep dive. We are looking at the entire life of Dante Alighieri. We want to move past that austere profile we see on the medallions, that grim, hook-nosed figure with the laurel wreath who looks like he's just silently judging all your life choices.
I mean, to be fair, he definitely was judging your life choices.
We will absolutely get to that judgment soon enough. But we want to find the man behind the marble, the soldier who was terrified in the saddle, the failed politician who had to banish his own best friend.
The obsessed lover and the architect of the entire afterlife.
Exactly. We've pulled together a massive stack of sources for this. Biographies from the Stanford and Treccani encyclopedias, a lot of historical analyses of the Guelph and Ghibelline Wars, his own letters.
And even the bizarre archaeological reports about his actual bones.
Which is a story that involves romance, high-stakes theology.
And a centuries-long heist involving Franciscan monks tunneling through walls. It's wild.
We are definitely going to spend some time on the monk heist. But to understand how a man ends up mapping hell, we have to understand where he started. We have to look at the Florence of 1265.
And we have to banish this idea that this was some kind of Renaissance Disneyland. Florence, in the late 13th century, was a shark tank. It was booming economically, exploding with new wealth from banking and textiles, but politically...
a knife fight in a dark alley.
That's the perfect way to put it. It was brutal.
And Dante was born right into this pressure cooker, May or June of 1265. He tells us in the comedy that he was born under the sign of Gemini.
Which he was very proud of. He genuinely attributed his intellect and his eloquence to the influence of the stars. Socially, the Alighieri family occupies this really interesting gray area.
They weren't super rich.
No. We might call them the low aristocracy or maybe the high bourgeoisie. They had a coat of arms, they had a lineage, but they weren't wealthy. They didn't have the vast estates of the great magnate families.
So they were sort of house rich and cash poor, essentially.
Exactly. His mother died when he was very young, likely before he was even 10, and his father remarried pretty quickly. But what's fascinating is his education. Dante didn't go the traditional university route. He wasn't sitting in lecture halls in Bologna or Paris, not at first.
So he was an autodidact.
Yeah.
Self-taught guy.
Largely, yes. He attended local church schools for the basics, grammar, rhetoric. But he became one of the most intellectually formidable non-professionals of his era. He was devouring Virgil, Cicero, Boethius, Aristotle on his own time.
He was building this massive internal library.
He was absorbing the classical world with this hunger that most university students didn't have, because for them it was just coursework. For Dante, it was oxygen.
But before we get to the philosophy and the politics, we have to talk about the one event that arguably shaped him more than anything else.
Sure.
We have to talk about the girl in the crimson dress. You cannot tell the story of Dante without Beatrice.
Beatrice Portinari. She is the prime mover of his emotional and, his entire artistic universe.
The story goes that they met at a May Day party. Dante was 9 years old. She was only 8.
And according to Dante's own account in La Vita Nuova, which means the new life, that was it. The moment he saw her, he felt his vital spirit tremble. He writes that love governed his soul from that moment on.
Now, to a modern listener, this sounds like a precocious crush that you grow out of by middle school.
Right, it sounds a little over the top, but we have to look at this through the lens of the Middle Ages.
This is courtly love, amor courtisé. This wasn't about, dating.
Not at all. In fact, if they had dated, it probably would have ruined all the poetry. Courtly love was a very specific philosophical and social construct. The beloved woman wasn't a partner in the modern sense. She was a donna angelicata.
An angelic woman.
An angelic woman, a conduit to the divine. The idea was that the beauty of the woman strikes the heart of the man, and that love ennobles him. It refines his character, and it lifts his soul toward God.
So Beatrice isn't really a girlfriend. She's a muse. She's a symbol.
Precisely. The reality of their relationship was almost non-existent. He met her when he was 9. He didn't speak to her.
And then nothing for years.
9 years later, and you have to notice the numerology there, Dante was obsessed with the number 9 as a symbol of the Trinity. He sees her again. She's walking down a street in Florence, dressed in white, flanked by 2 older women. She turns, she greets him.
Just says hello.
A simple greeting. And he nearly collapses from the intensity of it. That greeting was the fuel for his entire life's work.
It's incredible to think that a simple hello basically generated the Divine Comedy. But there is a tragedy here.
A huge one.
Beatrice marries a banker, Simone de Bardi, and then she dies in 1290. She was only 24.
And her death just shattered him. It sent him into this spiral of grief that actually pushed him deeper into philosophy. He started reading Boethius's Consolation of Philosophy to try and understand why bad things happen to good people.
But while he's mourning this celestial muse, we have to remember there's another woman in the room. The one who was actually cooking his dinner.
Gemma Donati.
The wife.
The wife. The mother of his children. And the woman who is completely, utterly erased from his literary existence.
This is one of those facts that just makes Dante seem so complicated. He was betrothed to Gemma Donati when he was 11 or 12 in a contract arranged by their fathers.
Just standard practice.
They got married around 1285, which is years before Beatrice died.
Right, so while he's writing these transcendent, beautiful sonnets about Beatrice, he is living with Gemma. They have at least 3 children, Jacopo, Pietro, and Antonia.
And yet, in the thousands of lines of poetry Dante wrote, where he mentions his friends, his enemies, his teachers, historical figures, mythological beasts,
everything,
he never once writes the name Gemma.
That silence is just... it's deafening, isn't it?
It is. But we have to look at the Donati connection, because that marriage wasn't just about family, it was about politics. The Donatis were a powerhouse family.
Oh, they were one of the most violent, wealthy, and influential families in Florence. In fact, there's a good chance they were actually the landlords of the Alighieri family.
So marrying Gemma was a step up for him.
Socially, it was a step up, but it also tethered him to a clan that was right at the center of the city's chaotic political life. You couldn't be a Donati-adjacent Florentine and just sit on the sidelines.
And this brings us to the soldier. We think of Dante in a robe holding a book, but in 1289 he was wearing armor and sitting on a horse.
He was in the cavalry. This is crucial. On June 11th, 1289, at the Battle of Campaldino, this was the decisive clash between the Guelphs of Florence and the Ghibellines of Arezzo.
Okay, let's pause and really unpack these two factions, because Guelph and Ghibelline get thrown around a lot and can be confusing.
It is the defining conflict of medieval Italy, truly. Broadly speaking, the Ghibellines supported the Holy Roman Emperor. They were the party of the old aristocracy, the feudal lords, the sort of imperial power.
And the Guelphs?
The Guelphs supported the Pope. They were generally associated with the rising merchant class, the cities that were fighting for independence from the empire. And Florence was a major Guelph stronghold.
So at Campaldino, Dante is fighting for the Guelphs. And being in the cavalry wasn't some ceremonial role.
No, he was a feditor. These were the shock troops, the front line. We have a letter where Dante describes the great fear he felt during the battle.
I can't even imagine.
A medieval cavalry charge is a terrifying thing. It's hundreds of tons of horse and steel just colliding. He saw men die. He saw the brutality of war up close.
And the Guelphs won.
The Florentine Guelphs won, yes. They crushed the Ghibellines. But that violence, it stayed with him. If you read the Inferno, the descriptions of wounds, of blood, of physical torment, that isn't just imagination, that's memory.
So the Guelphs win. The Ghibellines are kicked out. Yeah. Mission accomplished, right? Peace in our time.
Of course not. This is Florence we're talking about. As soon as the external enemy was gone, the Guelphs immediately turned on each other. They split into the Black Guelphs and the White Guelphs.
And this isn't really about ideology anymore, is it? It's more about power and class.
It's all about power, and specifically alignment with the papacy. The Black Guelphs, led by the Donati family, Dante's in-laws, remember, were the hardliners. They were aristocratic, violent, and they supported Pope Boniface VIII's attempt to assert total control over Tuscany.
They were willing to trade Florentine independence for papal favor.
Exactly, for power. And the White Guelphs, which was Dante's faction.
They were the moderates.
They were more aligned with the popolo, the middle class, the merchants. They wanted Florence to be independent. They did not want the Pope running their city council from Rome.
So Dante was a devout Catholic.
Oh, veer.
But he was a fierce anti-clericalist when it came to politics.
That's a perfect way to put it. He believed the Pope should handle souls, and the emperor or the city should handle the laws. Keep the two separate.
That belief is what completely destroyed him. Because he didn't just have opinions, he had power. In 1300, he climbs to the very top of the political ladder in Florence.
He was elected as a prior. The priorate was the Supreme Executive Council of Florence's 6 men who ruled the city for a 2-month term.
2 months seems incredibly short.
It was designed that way to prevent tyranny, to stop one person from accumulating too much power. But it meant the pressure was just immense. You had 8 weeks to save the city.
And Dante's turn was June and July of 1300.
Right in the middle of a crisis. The city was on the brink of civil war between the blacks and the whites. Riots were breaking out in the streets. And Dante, to his credit, he tried to be the adult in the room. He and his fellow priors made the agonizing decision to banish the hot-headed leaders of both factions to cool things down.
And this is the great tragedy of the politician. To appear neutral, he had to banish the black leaders, which included his wife's relatives, and the white leaders. And that list included Guido Cavalcanti.
His best friend. The man he called the first of my friends. Cavalcanti was a brilliant poet in his own right and a white Guelph leader.
So Dante signed the order, sending him away.
He did. He signed the order. Cavalcanti contracted malaria in exile and died just a few months later. Dante effectively signed his best friend's death warrant, all in the name of political stability.
That guilt must have been absolutely crushing. He later wrote that his election to the priorate was the cause and origin of all his misfortunes.
It was, because by banishing the Black Guelphs, he made a permanent, powerful enemy.
The Pope.
Pope Boniface VIII. He was not a man you wanted to cross. He was ambitious, he was ruthless, and he wanted Florence. He saw the White Guelphs as an obstacle to his power. So in 1301, the Pope springs a trap.
This is one of the most cynical political maneuvers in history. The Pope pretends he wants to negotiate, right?
Exactly. He sends Charles of Valois, a French prince, to Florence, supposedly as a peacemaker.
Right, a peacemaker.
The Florentines are naturally very suspicious, so they decide to send a delegation to Rome to talk to the Pope directly to figure out what's really going on. And Dante is appointed as one of the envoys.
So Dante rides to Rome. He leaves his wife, his kids, his city. He has no idea, but he is looking at Florence for the very last time.
He arrives in Rome, and the Pope plays this shell game. He dismisses the other envoys, sends them home or on other errands, but he keeps Dante. The phrase used in the sources was, Dante alone was asked to remain.
It sounds so polite.
It sounds polite, but it was essentially house arrest. The Pope wanted the smartest, most articulate guy in the opposition party off the board while he made his move.
And while Dante is stuck in Rome, waiting for a meeting with the Pope that never happens, the hammer drops in Florence.
November 1st, 1301, Charles of Valois enters Florence. He completely drops the facade of peacemaker and unleashes the Black Guelphs. It was a coup.
A violent one.
Oh, absolutely. For 6 days, the Black Guelphs just rampaged. They burned the houses of the White Guelphs. They murdered their enemies in the streets. They seized all their property. It was a complete and total purge.
And Dante is in Rome, just hearing these horrifying rumors that his city is burning.
Yeah.
And then comes the legal assault.
January 1302, the new Black Guelph government issues formal charges against Dante. They accuse him of barratry.
Which is basically corruption, right?
Yeah.
Selling political offices.
Exactly. Selling political offices, taking bribes, embezzlement. It was a complete fabrication, a political hit job, but it was effective. They fined him 5,000 florins, a ruinous sum, ordered him into exile for 2 years, and banned him from public office for life.
Dante, being a man of, immense principle, and also broke, since they already seized all his assets, refused to pay. He refused to admit to crimes he didn't commit.
And because he didn't show up in court to pay the fine, they escalated the sentence. On March 10, 1302, the definitive judgment was passed. If Dante Alighieri returns to Florence, igne cumburatur sic quod moriatur.
Let him be burned by fire such that he dies.
And just like that, the door slammed shut. He is 36 years old, he has lost his career, his home, his standing, and he's been separated from his family.
The psychological blow must have been catastrophic. You have to understand, in the medieval world, your citizenship was your identity. To be a stateless person was to be a nobody.
It was. Initially, he tried to organize with other white Guelph exiles. They were plotting military strikes, trying to force their way back into the city. But Dante quickly realized that his allies were, in his own words, wicked and senseless. There was infighting, stupidity, betrayal.
So he makes a choice. He walks away from them too.
He does. He becomes, as he so famously put it, a party of one. And this begins the long, bitter period of his wandering, the salt-bread years.
This brings us to one of the most famous passages in the entire comedy. In Paradiso, his great-great-grandfather, Cacciaguida, predicts Dante's future. He says, "You shall leave everything you love most. You are to know the bitter taste of others' bread, how salty it is, and know how hard a path it is, descending others' stairs."
How salty the bread is. It's such a brilliant sensory metaphor. You know, on a literal level, Tuscan bread, the bread of Florence, is famously made without any salt. It's bland. But the bread in the rest of Italy, in Verona or Bologna where he was staying, is salted. So every single time Dante sat down to dinner in exile and took a bite of bread, the salt would hit his tongue, and it was this constant physical reminder, you are not home, you're a stranger here.
And the descending others' stairs part is about the deep humiliation of being a guest, a dependent.
Exactly. He was living on charity. He stayed with the Della Scala family in Verona, the Malaspina family in Lunigiana. He was the court intellectual, totally dependent on the mood of his patrons. For a man as proud as Dante, who had been a governor of his own city, having to bow and scrape for his dinner must have been absolutely agonizing.
Did he ever think he was going to get back? Or did he just accept his fate?
He never accepted it. He spent years, decades hoping. In 1310, he had this massive surge of hope when the new Holy Roman Emperor, Henry VII of Luxembourg, marched into Italy.
Dante saw him as a savior.
As a messiah, he thought Henry would crush the Black Guelphs and the Pope and restore the rightful imperial order.
And Dante went into full propaganda mode for this guy.
He did. He wrote these incredibly violent, fiery letters. He called Henry the new Charlemagne. But he also wrote to the emperor himself saying, essentially, why are you wasting time in the north? Come to Florence, crush the viper.
He was inviting a foreign army to destroy his own city.
He was, because he believed the current government was so corrupt and illegitimate that it needed to be purged by fire. That is the rage of the exile. He's willing to see the city burn if it means justice is finally served.
But history disappointed him again.
It did. Henry VII caught malaria or some fever and died in 1313. The imperial army just dispersed. Dante's hope of a military return died with the emperor.
Florence did offer him an amnesty once, didn't they? A few years later, in 1315.
They did, but it was a trap of humiliation.
Yep.
The offer was this. You can come home, but you have to pay a hefty fine and you have to perform a public penance.
What did that involve?
You'd have to walk through the streets of Florence wearing a sackcloth and a paper mitre, like a dunce cap holding a candle. You'd basically be paraded as a public criminal, begging for the city's forgiveness.
And Dante's response to this is legendary.
It is. He wrote a letter to a friend in Florence and he said, "This is not the way of coming home. If I cannot enter Florence by an honorable path, then Florence shall I never enter."
He chose to die in exile rather than admit to a lie.
That's the man he was.
And that stubbornness, that pride, is really what saved his legacy. Because if he had gone back, if he had submitted, he might have just reintegrated into society and been forgotten. But by staying out, he was forced to build a new world for himself.
He had to become the architect. He turned from politics to literature. And this is where we see the intellectual shift that changes Western history. He writes De Vulgari Eloquentia.
On eloquence in the vernacular.
Yes. And this was a radical text. He was arguing that Italian, the street language, the language of the market, and the nursery was suitable for high art.
Which was revolutionary at the time.
Completely revolutionary. At the time, if you were writing philosophy or serious literature, you wrote in Latin. Latin was seen as eternal, stable, and pure. Italian was seen as corruptible and changing, but Dante argued that the vernacular was actually nobler because it was natural. It's the language you learn from your nurse, not the one you learn by rules in a school.
He was democratizing knowledge.
He was. He wanted the baker and the blacksmith to have access to truth, not just the clergy and the scholars.
And he proved it by writing the Comedian.
The Divine Comedy. He worked on it throughout his exile, basically from 1308 until he died in 1321. It is 100 cantos of sheer perfection, 14,233 lines. And we have to talk about the structure, because it's not just a story, it's a mathematical and theological miracle.
The terza rima.
Yes, Dante invented a rhyme scheme called terza rima. It's a chain of interlocking rhymes, the first and third lines of a stanza rhyme, and the middle line rhymes with the first and third lines of the next stanza. So ABA, BCB, CDC, DED, and so on.
Why is that so significant?
For two reasons. First, the number 3. It mirrors the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Everything in the poem is structured around the number 3. 33 cantos per book, 3 guides, 9 circles of hell. But second, it creates this incredible forward momentum.
It pulls you along.
It literally pulls the reader forward. The middle rhyme of one stanza becomes the outer rhyme of the next. It's like a chain link that physically drags you down into hell and then pulls you like the mountain of purgatory. You can't stop reading because the sound itself propels you.
And the architecture of the afterlife he built, it's so specific. It's not just generic fire and brimstone. It's, I don't know, almost bureaucratic.
It is a moral taxonomy. He categorized every single sin, and the punishments all obey this law he devised called contrapasso.
Which means the punishment fits the crime.
The punishment fits the crime, often in a deeply ironic way.
Give us an example.
Okay, take the flatterers. People who spent their lives, spouting bull, telling lies to pump up powerful people. In the Inferno, they are immersed in a deep ditch filled with human excrement.
Because that's what came out of their mouths in life.
So that's what they have to wallow in for eternity. It's disgusting, but it's perfect.
Or the fortune tellers is another great one.
Right. Those who tried to see too far into the future, trying to usurp God's prerogative. In hell, their heads are twisted 180 degrees backward on their bodies, so they have to walk backward for eternity, their tears running down their backs because they tried to see too far forward. It's grotesque, but it's intellectually perfect.
And of course, he puts his personal enemies there. This is the ultimate revenge.
Oh, it's a literary hit list. He puts Filippo Argenti, a black Guelph who was a personal enemy, in the muddy swamp of the river Styx. And in the poem, Dante actually watches him get torn apart by other souls and says, "Good!"
He puts the Pope in there.
He puts Pope Boniface VIII in the circle of the Simonists, those who sold church offices. Boniface is destined to be stuffed headfirst into a hole in the rock, with flames burning the soles of his feet for all time.
But the comedy isn't just a revenge fantasy. It's a journey of salvation. And he can't do it alone. He has guides.
He has Virgil, the great Roman poet who represents human reason. Virgil is the perfect guide for the horror of hell and the difficult climb of purgatory. But reason can only take you so far. It can't take you all the way to God.
So at the top of Mount Purgatory, Virgil have to leave. And Beatrice arrives.
This is the climax of the entire poem. At the top of the mountain, in the earthly paradise, Virgil just vanishes, and Beatrice appears. And she is not the sweet, silent girl from the street in Florence anymore.
No, she is.
She is the embodiment of divine revelation, of theology. And she is stern.
She yells at him.
She completely humiliates him. She calls him by name Dante, which is the only time his name appears in the entire poem. She berates him for wasting his talents, for straying from the true way after she died, for pursuing false images of good. She makes him weep with confession before he is allowed to ascend into heaven.
It's such a powerful moment because it shows that real divine love isn't just sweet. It involves accountability.
It's tough love on a cosmic scale.
And through her, he reaches Paradiso. He maps the heavens.
And in doing so, he cements the Italian language. He took the Tuscan dialect, which was still a bit rough, and he polished it. He added Latinisms, French words he just made up. He created a language capable of describing both the smell of rotting flesh in hell and the blinding, ineffable light of the Godhead in heaven. He proved that Italian could do anything.
So the poem is finished. Dante is now an older man. Where is he living at this point?
By 1318, he had settled in Ravenna. He was the guest of Guido Novello da Polenta, the lord of the city. Ravenna was a quiet, marshy city filled with these ancient, beautiful mosaics. It was a good place to rest after decades of wandering.
And for the first time in a long time, he has some family around him.
Yes, his sons Jacopo and Pietro joined him there, and his daughter Antonia, She actually became a nun in Ravenna, and in this incredibly touching detail, she took the name Sister Beatrice.
Wow.
It seems the family had finally made their peace with the muse.
But the end comes, strangely enough, from another mission for the state. He becomes a diplomat again.
He does. In 1321, Venice and Ravenna were on the verge of war over, a dispute about ships and taxes, the usual stuff. Guido de Polenta sent Dante to Venice to negotiate a peace. He was the elder statesman now, the wise man. The negotiations actually worked, but the return journey was fatal.
He had to travel through the marshlands.
The swamps of the Po Delta. It was mosquito country. He contracted quartan malaria. He returned to Ravenna shivering with fever. And on the night of September 13th or 14th, 1321, he died. He was 56 years old.
He was buried in the church of San Pier Maggiore in Ravenna, a modest tomb for a literary giant.
And here is where the story should end, but it doesn't, because as soon as he was dead, Florence realized the colossal mistake they had made.
The unloving mother, as he called her, suddenly wanted her most famous son back.
The comedy began to circulate widely, and people realized, wait a minute, this is the greatest thing ever written, and we're the ones who burned the guy who wrote it in effigy. Florence started demanding the body back. They wanted to bury him in Santa Croce, their pantheon of Florentine heroes.
And what did Ravenna say?
Ravenna said, absolutely not. You exiled him. You rejected him. He is ours now.
This tug-of-war went on for centuries.
It did, until 1519. This is the heist. Florence finally had the ultimate trump card, a Medici pope, Pope Leo X. He was a Florentine. The Florentine Academy petitioned him to order Ravenna to surrender the bones.
And you can't really say no to a papal bull.
Exactly. So a delegation from Florence travels to Ravenna. They have the Pope's order. They march into the convent where the tomb was. They order the marble sarcophagus to be opened. They were ready to carry Dante home in triumph. They lift the lid, and it was empty.
Just gone.
There was a little bit of dust and some withered laurel leaves. That's it. The Florentines were stunned. They looked like complete fools. They had to write back to the Pope saying, Your Holiness, Dante is not there.
But where was he?
The Franciscan monks. The tomb was attached to their monastery. They knew the Florentines were coming. They were not going to let them take their poet. So they had secretly tunneled through the wall from the inside of their cloister, broke into the back of the sarcophagus, pulled the bones out one by one, and hid them.
I love that. The monks staged a supernatural disappearance just to protect him from his own hometown.
They hid the bones in a simple wooden box and placed it inside a false wall in the monastery. But here is the craziest part of the story. The monks kept the secret so well that eventually everyone who knew the exact location died.
They lost Dante.
And
the wall.
They lost him. For over 300 years, Dante's real bones were missing. People would visit the official tomb in Ravenna thinking he was there, but it was empty. Florence built that massive, beautiful cenotaph in Santa Croce in 1829, the one all the tourists see today, with the statue of Dante looking gloomy. But it's empty, too. He was a ghost.
So how did they find him?
Pure dumb luck. In 1865, Italy was preparing for the 600th anniversary of Dante's birth. They were doing renovations at the monastery in Ravenna. A bricklayer was breaking down a wall to fix a door, and his tool hit something hollow. He found a wooden plate. Scribbled on the lid were the words Dante's ossa.
Dante's bones. No way.
Dante's bones. Inside was a nearly complete skeleton. They did an anthropological examination. The skull shape matched the death mask and the portraits perfectly. It was him.
So they put him back.
They put him back in the mausoleum in Ravenna, where he rests today. Florence never got him back.
But they do send a gift, right? A kind of peace offering.
Yes. It's a beautiful tradition. Every year, on the anniversary of his death, the municipality of Florence sends high-quality Tuscan olive oil to Ravenna. It is used to fuel the lamp that hangs in his tomb, burning 247.
It's for a perpetual peace offering. We exiled you, we threatened to burn you, but now we will keep your light burning forever.
It's the most perfect poetic justice. The city that cast him into darkness now provides the light for his tomb.
And much more recently, in 2008, the City Council of Florence finally voted to formally revoke the sentence of 1302.
It only took them 706 years.
Better late than never, I guess.
They acknowledged the sentence was politically motivated and unjust, but honestly, I think Dante would have just laughed at it. He didn't need their apology. He had already built his own justice system in the comedy and had placed himself among the stars.
So as we step back and look at this entire life, from the boy at the May Day party to the bitter exile eating salty bread, what is the ultimate takeaway? Why does Dante still matter so much?
I think it's because he shows us the power of integration. He integrated everything, his love, his politics, his theology, his personal grudges, into one single coherent worldview. But more importantly, he shows us that we are not defined by what the world does to us. Florence took everything from him. They tried to erase his name, but he used that very erasure to write a story that encompassed the entire universe. He refused to be a victim, he became the judge.
And he reminds us that neutrality is not a virtue, which I think brings us to our final thought.
Right. It's one of the most chilling images in the entire Inferno. Before you even cross the river Acheron into hell proper, you pass through the vestibule. This is the holding pen for the neutrals.
The fence-sitters.
The fence-sitters.
Huh.
The angels who didn't fight for God or for Lucifer. The humans who live their lives without praise or blame.
And their punishment is so specific.
They are naked, stung endlessly by wasps and hornets, while they chase a blank banner that never, ever stops moving. They had no flag, no cause in life, so they are forced to chase nothing for eternity. Dante says, heaven casts them out, and deep hell will not receive them. He despised them more than he despised the murderers in the river of blood.
Because at least the murderers chose a side.
Exactly. Dante teaches us that in times of moral crisis, saying, I don't want to get involved is itself a moral failure. You have to stand for something. You have to choose.
That is a heavy thought to carry with us. In a modern world of safe opinions and carefully worded PR statements, would Dante place us in the vestibule with the wasps?
It's a question worth asking in the mirror, for sure.
If you enjoyed this journey through the circles of history, don't forget to like and subscribe to History Titans. And we really want to hear from you in the comments.
Yeah, let us know.
If you were writing a divine comedy today, who or what would you put in the Inferno? Let us know below. We'll see you in the next one.